Hello everybody and welcome to another doll customizing video. This video is especially made for all you Genshin Impact fans. I personally do play Genshin Impact from time to time. I am a free-to-play player exclusively because I have dedicated all my gacha spending funds elsewhere. So Emma and I have been talking about making a Genshin Impact doll for a while now, and so I decided to open up the game and we went through every single character together to decide which one would best fit our aesthetic and doll making, and also, like, the designs are crazy, okay? They are very complex. So Emma and I came to the consensus that Hutao's design might best fit a 12-inch doll scale. Spoiler, she was still very complex, but we made it work. I actually made my own custom of one of my favorite characters from the game, Beidou, a while back now, and this is definitely, you can see the skill upgrade here, and especially with Emma's talent making the outfit. So with that, hope you enjoy the video. Let's get started. To start things off with the base doll we're using for Hutao, I'm using this art class Draculaura who unfortunately has a completely broken neck peg, but that's okay because I'm also using an Ever After High doll for the body. And when I say that Draculaura neck peg was broken, I mean like completely broken. The plastic was in a bunch of little pieces, some were even missing, and it was completely stuck inside the head, so yeah. Moving on to the prep work though, I'm just cutting off all of Draculaura's hair as close to the scalp as possible so we can prep her for the reroot. This hair was definitely too nasty to keep around for future projects, so it is getting tossed in the bin. And now I'm just going to take my needle nose pliers and scrape out all the excess glue and hair from the inside of the head. Obviously, we're not keeping any of this glue either, so that is also getting thrown in the trash. For Hutao's hair, I couldn't really find the perfect shade of brown, but I'm using as close as I could get with these shades from Shimmerluxe Nylon Collection in the shades Bittersweet and Burnt Umber. Also, I really wanted to use nylon for this reroot, so obviously I couldn't find a nylon shade that went from brown to red at the tips. Dyeing could be an option. I didn't think that this brown would take a red dye very well, so if you're trying to do something more accurate, maybe using a lighter brown, then dyeing the tips red, or even going with a yarn, that could also be a little more accurate. To seal and secure her new hair into place, I'm using some Fabri-Tac glue. I also sectioned her hair off into 2 pigtails. I don't have her bangs sectioned out right now because obviously we're getting started on the face up, so I didn't want the bangs to get all messy. I'm using 100% acetone to remove all the factory paint. Like always, if you guys are looking for any of the materials that Emma and I are using for this video, we have affiliate links in the description with a full material list on everything we use. So obviously Draculaura's face is pretty pink in comparison to the body, so I'm going in, starting off with a full acrylic face paint. I like to do this before I spray down any layers of MSC because sometimes the sealant can make it a little gritty and make brush strokes more visible. And then I do several layers of watered down acrylic paint only using a flat brush, and that is how I get as minimal brush strokes as possible. When sketching out the shape of Hutao's eyes, I tried to make them as accurate as I possibly could. It's been a while since I've done an anime style face up, but I am, fingers crossed, hoping for the best on this one. She does have very minimal blushing and makeup, but I wanted to make sure I added that in there because if you don't really add any blushing onto a doll, it makes them look very lifeless. I mean, it obviously is lifeless, it is a doll, but it just builds a little character. Then I make sure I seal in the chalk pastel with a layer of Mr. Super Clear, and then I move straight into my acrylic paints. I'm starting off with black so I can be a little sloppy with my lines here and then go over it with different colors later. Such as white, because obviously this is going to be the most help cleaning up the black line on the bottom. Then I move on to outlining the iris. I want to make sure I'm getting as minimal amount of black paint in the whites of the eyes as possible, so I'm kind of tilting my brush towards the inside of the eye. And as you can see, there's a little bit of bleeding here on the inside of the eye, but that's okay because I cover it up later. Then I go ahead and do her upper lash line as well as her eyelashes. And I wanted to leave this clip in just so I could show you guys how I react whenever I make a mistake using acrylic paint. I just quickly clean off my brush and make sure there's a little bit of water still on there and try to pick up as much of that acrylic paint as quickly as possible, because the longer you take, the quicker it dries and then your mistake is there and you'll just have to paint over it or do something else. But yeah, and then I just do that and repeat the process a couple of times. This was a very minimal mistake. It was not very noticeable, but that's how I do it. Moving on to the irises, I'm filling out the entire iris with a caramel brown as like my base color. Then to add a little bit of depth and shadow into the iris, I'm using this more melted chocolate brown. And I also kind of use it where the pupil is going to be, so there's a little bit of depth behind the pupil that we add later. She has this like very yellow ochre-ish kind of color that's like highlighting the bottoms of her iris, so I made sure to add both that and her other highlights. And her pupils, which are super unique, she has these really bright floral shaped pupils, so I'm using a dotting tool to try and make sure the petals are all the same size and shape. Then I just wanted to give her a really natural lip color because it doesn't really appear that she has any lipstick on. And of course, to finish off the face up, I am adding some Liquitex High Gloss Varnish onto her lips. And that is pretty much it for my Hutao face up. I did a few minor details off camera, but for my first anime face up in a while, I am really in love with how she looks. Hutao has a lot of rings, and making them was very tedious, so I just added some jump rings where I could, and then took a 2-part epoxy sculpt and sculpted on the more detailed rings in what I tried to make as detailed as I could in such a small scale. And then I waited for those to dry, super glued them onto her fingers, and went ahead and added the paint details using a silver metallic paint. And then I added like some black and red where necessary. And of course I couldn't just stop at her rings, I also had to paint her nails black to match. And then I also made this super tiny beaded bracelet with a little red tassel. That took me a little while, but I think it's super cute and just adds more accuracy. As you guys may or may not know, hairstyling is not my forte, and I have no really good advice on how to do anything. I just take my scissors and slowly cut away and whittle down the bangs to the best accurate length that I possibly can, and then I put some gel in them so they hold their shape, and hope for the best.
Morgan's face-up turned out beautiful as always, and now it's my turn to work on the outfit. If you have played Genshin Impact, you know that Genshin Impact character outfits are out of, this universe. They are so detailed, which makes them very hard to make in real life. Luckily, I was able to make Hutao's outfit, so maybe there's hope for me. I wanted to get the decals on Hutao's outfit way out of the way before I even started working on the fabric on this. So Morgan sketched up some SVGs for me, bless. Having an artist friend is definitely a lot of help when customizing dolls. Unless you are the artist friend, then go off. Now I can start on the most relaxing process part for me, which is weeding out the vinyl. Sometimes it can get on my nerves, but usually it's just nice, smooth sailing. Then you have to weed out vinyl like this, so I did this off screen because it took me a while. Once they're all done, I array them on this paper just to make sure everything is right, and I am ready to get started on the outfit. For her shorts, I just used a simple pattern and added a snap in the back. Now I can move on to the jacket. Now the jacket was definitely the hardest part because I had to make a completely new pattern for this. I made some collars to go, and her sleeves, and the cuffs. Now that the base of the jacket is done, we can put the decals on. For the decals, you're going to want to iron them on because these are ironable. And then you'll repeat the process multiple times until everything's ironed on. Then I just cut some holes in the fabric for the little boxes I cut out with my Cricut. I used some thin foam and I cut 4 of those out, Morgan painted them, and then I glued them on. Now we're on to the next step, which is embroidering. There are so many steps to this doll, I swear. But it's definitely worth it. I just made my own pattern for the bucket hat. Hutao has this beautiful blue ribbon on the side of her hat, and I took some embroidery thread and braided it together to give the illusion of a ribbon. After applying that, I went ahead and I sewed everything onto Hutao because I thought it would look more seamless that way, and I wanted to put stuff on her back. And with that, after many, many hours of work, her outfit is finally done, and we can move on to the next step, there's more, which is 3D printing. I went online and printed out some 3D models, which you can find in the description, and made them doll scaled and did everything you need to do to 3D print, which is wash, cure, the works. After attaching the buckles to the boots, everything is ready to go. Look at all these cute little 3D pieces. And they are handed to Morgan to be painted, because why not? Morgan let me voice over her part, so I'm gonna do a voiceover on Morgan's part, so pretend this is me. I am a very refined artist, so I am taking this green, brown, and painting the shoes. Wow. Wow, Morgan, great job on that voiceover. Now that everything is painted gold,
I love gold!
I'm just going to glue it on. Now that everything is glued on, the last step is to wrap it all up in a tiny bow, add it to the back, and it is finished.
We're actually going to be trying something new for today's custom with this new machine that we got. Big thank you to XTool for sending us their XTool F1. If you're not familiar with what this is, it is essentially a laser cutter which you can use to do engravings or cut through materials in like a really clean cut way. I was kind of terrified to now know that I'm owning a laser in my house, but this is gonna make it really cool, easy, and like efficient for us to make things. So for our first project with this new machine, we are big fans of Moonlight Jewel. Go check her out if you don't follow her already. You are missing out on some really amazing doll content. And she makes really cool custom doll stands specifically for her Monster High redesigns. And we wanted to try making a simple doll stand for Hutao. So I drew up this, her ghost. Hutao has like the little ghost friend that she always is hanging around with. And Emma is working with the 3mm plywood to cut out the base shape of the ghost, and then she cut out some Cricut vinyl design for the ghost to put over top of that. And here's how the finished cut wood piece looks. The hole in the center is for like the pole part of the stand, so that's why that's there. For now, just enjoy some more peeling vinyl footage from Emma. Also, didn't my ghost drawing turn out so cute, guys? It looks official. Yeah, so then Emma just applies all the vinyl on. I don't really know how she did it, so, that's a mystery. And then to keep the wooden dowels secure into the base of the stand, Emma is using some epoxy sculpt, and she's taking off the saddle piece from this doll stand you could buy online, and yeah, she carved down the wooden dowel so you could slip it on to there and it fits perfectly and looks good. And with that, I can finally say that our Hutao doll is done. With all of the detail that went into making this doll, I think it took us well over like 2 weeks or so, which is pretty long for us in the doll making process.
Yeah, this is definitely one of the longest time I've spent on one singular doll. But I think it was definitely worth it.
For sure, I agree. I really love how she turned out. All the detail is really worth it when you see like the full finished project. And I don't know, I really love how she turned out. There is a bunch of available things like files on Patreon for how we made this doll. So like all the vector images for the decals on her outfit.
I also have the pattern for her jacket, and the files for how we made the stand are also available if you wanted to make your own stands.
And also a huge shout out and thank you to our patrons. Thank you so much to Emmy Lisis, Christian, Sylphic Studios, Emma, Vinyl Bunny, Kate, Amanita Truffle, Daisy, Maisie Woodgate, and Anson. If you or someone you know might like to purchase this doll, she will be available on our shop in the next couple of days. Keep an eye out on my community tab or over on my Instagram, where I will update when she is available and ready to be sold. And yeah, that's pretty much it for this video, I think. Anything you want to say, Emma?
Thank you guys so much for watching and supporting us. It means the world to us.
Yes, and if you could go hit that like, comment, and subscribe. I'm told to do that for the algorithm. It'll hopefully boost the video. I don't know. But thank you guys so much for watching, and we will hopefully see you in the next video.
Alright. Have fun, everyone. Enjoying your life. Have fun with life.
Bye.
Goodbye.